Hello and welcome to this presentation, Some Thoughts About Health. And it's based on a presentation I gave to a personal development organization I belong to. And I thought I would put it here because I felt that there is some information that might be of value to people. So let's start. So the word health is actually from an old English word meaning whole, W-H-O-L-E, i.e. a thing that is complete in itself. But I like this definition of health. And this is a definition given by Dr. William Li, who is a Harvard-trained physician who has written a book called Eat to Beat Disease, the new science of how your body can heal itself. And what he says is that health is more than the absence of disease, that it's about boosting the body's health defenses, of which there are 5. So the blood vessels is one of the body's health defenses because it's through the blood vessels that the cells get nourished. So nutrition is taken to the cells via the blood vessels. Then we have the stem cells, and the stem cells are for regeneration. So they're involved in hair growth, in skin repair. If you, for example, were to have up to 2/3 of your liver removed because of a tumor, for example, then it would regenerate, and that is the activity of the stem cells. Then we have the microbiome, which many people are familiar with. So this is the what William Li calls the ecosystem of the body, and it consists of the bacteria in the gut, of which there is a massive proliferation. And if we have a good level of gut bacteria and it's of the right quality, then it helps the body to lower inflammation and optimizes our metabolism, for example. Then we have our DNA. And now our DNA, we know we get our DNA from our parents, for example, but one of the functions of DNA is to defend us against the environment. So, for example, you go out in the sunlight and you sustain a degree of sun damage. I'm not talking about sunbathing, but just generally being out in sunlight. And our DNA repairs that damage that's caused by ultraviolet rays. And then the immune system, a term that we're probably all familiar with because of the pandemic and the workings of vaccinations with the immune system. And the immune system is designed to protect us from external and internal invaders. So that might be viruses coming from the outside, but also things that we put into our bodies as well. And what William Li says is that to have health, we need to do things on a daily basis to support the health of these 5 of the body's health defenses. So for myself, I put together this health program, and I did this for the personal development organization I was involved in. And basically, this is the program I work to on a daily basis. So you'll see there's diet and some elements of diet that I pay attention to. We're going to talk about diet in a moment. Grooming as well, and I think that's important for our mental health, and probably particularly as we've had our lives limited to varying degrees over the last 18 months. I think this has taken on more importance. We know about exercising. I'm going to talk a little bit about exercise that most of us may not be particularly familiar with. And then I've what I call additional practices, which pay attention to particular systems of the body, which I'm also going to talk about in more depth. So a few years ago, I wrote an ebook called Healthy Aging, Simple Ways to Stay Younger for Longer. And I wanted to do a section on diet. Now, of course, there are numerous ways of eating, different kinds of diets. And I wanted to give people something that was kind of straightforward, that they could look at in terms of it being a healthy way of eating. And I found this research by a Dr. Paul Clayton, and he did some research with a social historian, and they looked at the mid-Victorian diet. He chose this particular period of history. This is the mid-Victorian diet in the UK, but he chose this particular time because if people lived to an old age, then they would generally live a vigorous, healthy old age. In this period of history, degenerative diseases like cancer were virtually unknown. People tend to die of infections and accidents as well. And women often had serious accidents in the home, particularly with burns. So he wants to look at their diet to see how it might contribute to this particular healthy old age, bearing in mind that this is the mid-Victorian, so the working classes that we're talking about here, who would have had very physical jobs and very physical lives. They would have done their own housework, the kinds of jobs they had. They might be working on the roads or in factories or working the land. So they would be very physically active for most of the day. And because they were, they didn't have a great deal of money, they would very often cultivate their own food. So this was a sort of typical mid-Victorian working class diet. So fruit and vegetables, which they would generally grow themselves, and they would eat a wide variety, probably 8 to 10 portions. Now, those of you who live in the UK know that we are exhorted to eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. The mid-Victorians were eating twice that. And part of the reason partly for that was that because they didn't have a lot of money, they would fill their plates with vegetables or fruit. And then they would have fish or meat or whatever in addition. So because they were cultivating it themselves, they would eat with the seasons. So they weren't eating the same thing all year long. It would necessarily change with the seasons. So more root vegetables in the winter, and the sort of more summery, salady type vegetables in the summer. They would eat fish and other fresh and seawater foods. So they would eat things like mussels and whelks and cockles, this kind of thing. There would be some nuts. When they ate meat, they would tend to eat the whole animal. So they would be eating liver, sweetbreads, kidney, heart, that kind of thing. A small amount of pulses, particularly yellow split peas, which they would use to make something called peas pudding. They would often have their own livestock, so they might have a cow, they might have hens, chickens, and they would have their own eggs. And then they would have things like porridge and bread as well. So you can see that they were and that they were eating food that wasn't treated with antibiotics and hormones. and probably weed killers weren't used either, or other pest products. So it was probably very fresh food. They would pick when they needed it. And so it wasn't in storage a long time, and therefore nutrient dense food. And we need all the food groups. So we need to have proteins to build and repair our tissues. We need to have carbohydrates for energy. We need to have fats in our diets because they perform essential functions in the body, as well as giving us energy. And like the mid-Victorian diet, as near its natural whole state as possible, so that you get all the nutrients, which also assist in metabolizing the food itself. Years ago, I trained as a nutritionist, and we talked about food having life force. So if you eat food that comes from the ground like this, it's not packaged and tinned and so on, then it has what we call life force. That is, it can help the body with its perform its various functions and optimize the health of the different systems in the body. So we saw that the mid-Victorians ate large amounts of fruit and vegetables. And the benefit of that is that by doing so, you get good levels of minerals and vitamins. And minerals and vitamins are needed for many processes in the body, including enzyme activity. And I've just compared two vegetables here, two very common vegetables, broccoli and carrot, to show how they compare for mineral and vitamin content. So you can see that, for example, broccoli contains 143% more iron than carrot does, and it contains 1,412% more vitamin C than carrot does. On the other hand, carrots contain 109% more sodium than broccoli, and 2,195% more beta carotene than broccoli. So you can see why it might be important to eat a wide and varied range of vegetables, because they vary very much in their mineral and vitamin content. Now, you might say, well, in that case, broccoli is obviously a good vegetable to eat, and of course it is. But it's another reason to have variety in your diet is that all vegetables have their own toxins, and eating a larger amount of broccoli, you can depress the thyroid that way. So again, eating as wide a range of vegetables as possible, and fruits as well, will give you a wide range of minerals and vitamins and minimize the effects of the natural toxins in them. So another thing about fruit and vegetables is their variety of color. And as I understand it, the fruits and vegetables produce these colors to protect them from being eaten by bugs. And also the color denotes certain phytonutrients contained within those fruits and vegetables. And these phytonutrients are also nutrients that can really help our own bodies and have a protective function within the body. So, for example, you can see here that there's, I think that's pumpkin, the orange vegetable, you can see yellow pepper. And orange and yellow vegetables denote the presence of a phytonutrient called zeaxanthin. Zeaxanthin contributes to the health of the eyes. So, and these different colors denote different phytonutrients, which all have these very beneficial effects on the body. And you don't get them in supplements. You know, you get the core minerals and vitamins, but these phytonutrients are only found in the live food, that is food that is in its natural state and has either been eaten raw or cooked. So another thing to think about when choosing fruits and vegetables is color, and bringing in as many colors as you can on a daily basis to really take advantage of the phytonutrients that they contain. So to improve our diets, and we can all do this, there are certain things that we could think about on a daily basis. So we could add color to our meals. So as I've just said, by bringing in as many different colored fruits and vegetables as possible, we take advantage of those phytonutrients contained within the foods and their protective function within the body. And we can do that by adding a side salad or a bowl of extra vegetables to our meals. And we're also then upping the portions and getting healthy levels of these fruits and vegetables. We can do that by making vegetable soups. We can increase the nutritional density of our meals by adding things to them. So think about what you can add to your meals. So for example, adding a poached egg to a bowl of soup, or a swirl of olive oil, putting a swirl of olive oil on your cooked vegetables or on your salad. Adding some chopped herbs. Chopped herbs are very nutritious. So again, that's another way of enhancing the nutritional density of your food. A sliced avocado. You could add fruit or a small handful of nuts or seeds to your breakfast. You know, seeds like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, and there are more. Another good thing to do is to try a new vegetable every week, so that again you're just increasing the variety of vegetables. It's very easy we all do it. We go and we buy the same things every week. Try and increase the variety of vegetables and fruit as well. And of course, one way to do that is bringing in new recipes as well. So the truth is that variety is the key to a good diet. And another thing I'll say here is that if you are vegetarian or vegan, you need to know how to do it properly so that you are getting all the nutrients you need. So nutrients that you will be missing out on in meat and poultry and eggs, perhaps. And you need to know how to replace them, and you need to know about protein complementation. So I suggest visiting a nutritionist to make sure that you're doing it properly. And how we eat is also very important, because digestion begins in the mouth. So it's really important that we chew our food well. Some people say you should chew it until it becomes liquid. And when you chew, you're adding the enzyme ptyalin, which is in saliva, to the food, which begins the process of digestion, so that by the time it reaches the stomach, it's already, on its way to being digested, because, a lot of people just throw food in their mouth and pretty much swallow it straight away. So you're missing out on that early stage of good digestion. And when we're stressed, our digestive system is closed down, is shut down, because when you're stressed, you're in fight-flight mode. And the body, in its wisdom, when it's preparing you to stay in fight or run away, shuts down those systems that your body doesn't need at that point in time, so that the energy can be directed to those parts of the body that might be needed. So blood is sent to the extremities and away from the digestive system, for example. So that's why people who are chronically stressed sometimes suffer with digestive problems, because when they eat, their body isn't in a receptive mode. So try and relax for a period of time before you have a meal. And when you eat, to eat mindfully. So you can almost treat having a meal like a ritual. Set yourself a place. Eat mindfully, so don't eat when you're working or watching TV, but just really appreciate the food with all its tastes and flavor. And in that way, by enhancing the eating experience, you will get the most out of the food, out of what you're putting in your body and may have spent time preparing. So that's all I'm going to say on food and diet and eating right now. And we're going to move on to earthing. Now, I came across this relatively recently, and earthing is about really connecting with the earth. The earth is a reservoir of free electrons, and these are needed for the health of the body. So, you know, there was a time when people spent a lot of time in their bare feet, or they might wear animal skins on their feet, which still allowed that connection with the earth. But with our rubber-soled shoes and time spent in buildings and away from the earth, we've lost that connection, and therefore the health enhancing benefits of free electrons. But you can begin to do something about this, and a chap called Clint Ober has spent some time really looking at this. He himself was in the telecommunications business, so he knew all about earthing cables and so on. And long story short, he began to wonder whether human beings should be earthed. And he set up a rudimentary system where he put something on his mattress, attached it to a cable, and earthed it in through his bedroom window into the ground outside, and then went to sleep. And he said that the extraordinary thing was that he went straight to sleep and slept through the night. And he was a poor sleeper. He actually was an insomniac. So this was very interesting to him. He started getting his friends to do something similar. And one day, one of them said, "Do you think this helps with arthritis?" And Clint Ober said, "Oh, I don't think so. I think it's just helps you sleep." But this friend began to have less problems with his arthritis. So again, Clint Ober looked at this and took his findings to UCLA, who pretty much showed him the door, apart from one doctor, Dr. Sinatra, who was a cardiologist, and they worked together on this idea quite a lot. And what they found was that there were a number of health benefits, that by being in contact with the earth for periods of time every day, that inflammation in the body is reduced. And when inflammation is reduced in the body can help heal itself. And that's why people report less pain from inflammatory conditions like arthritis when they earth. People generally just feel better. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which is associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what we call the rest and relax part of the nervous system. People report sleeping better and even losing weight. There is a film on YouTube on earthing, and in that, one of the filmmakers spent a lot of time lying naked on the earth, and as a result lost weight. And Klintober said that's because her hormones were rebalanced through that. So how can you earth? Well, a good way to do it is through barefoot walking. And in the summer months, I was going out first thing in the morning to the local common and walking in my bare feet for a period of time. You can do it with gardening. Having your hands in the earth will ground you, will earth you. Getting into the sea or a mineral-rich lake, if you have that facility, will ground you, as will walking on the sand, as is shown in this picture here. Camping, lying on a sheet on the earth, will help you to ground to earth as well, in this connection with the electrons, from the free electrons from the earth, which have these life supporting benefits. Okay, so we've talked about building up the body through diet. We've talked about being able to enhance the body through earthing, bringing in those free electrons. But inevitably, our bodies build up toxins, so we breathe them in through the air. We put them into our bodies. Chemicals we use in the house, these all go into our bodies. So we need to detoxify, and the body has its own system for this purpose. And it's a network of vessels that run in tandem with the circulatory system. It's called the lymphatic system. So the body has this ability to detoxify itself, but it doesn't, unlike the circulatory system, it doesn't have its own pump. So we can do things to facilitate the detoxification of our bodies. Exercise is a way to get the lymphatic system moving. But there are other things that we can do, and you may have heard of skin brushing, where you use a bristle brush and you brush the whole of the body towards the heart, and this stimulates the lymphatic system as well as sloughing off dead skin cells. There are many videos on YouTube that you can look at to learn how to skin brush, and it's something you can just do before you have a shower in the morning. Chapman's reflexes are points on the body that have been found to be linked to specific organs. And again, you can learn a little routine to stimulate these Chapman's reflexes and directly affect the organs of the body and help them, stimulate them to detoxify. Again, you can find videos about that on YouTube. You can do, again, a lymphatic drainage self-massage, which is a gentle kind of stroking massage to encourage the movement of lymph along the vessels. And, it can get, a bit stuck in places. Again, you can find how to do that on YouTube. So again, thinking about whether you want to incorporate one of these little detoxification processes into your daily health routine. Okay, so at the beginning I mentioned that I incorporated grooming because I feel it's an important element of mental health. The attention we pay to ourselves, our self-care, how we dress, how we keep our hair, these all help us to go out into the world feeling our best. And what you do as a grooming practice will vary depending on what really matters to you. So the sorts of things I do are face exercises. I can do face acupuncture, so quite often I'll do face acupuncture on myself. I like to give my hands and feet treatments, so that might be soaking them in Dead Sea salts, or and then putting some rich cream on them. I'll do little hand exercises to keep them flexible. So some kind of little grooming practice that you can put together and do on a daily basis will just help you feel good, which of course is good for our health. And of course, we know the importance of exercise and doing some kind of exercise every day. And my feeling is that it's important to do exercise that you enjoy, otherwise you won't do it. So for example, I'll go for most days I'll go for a walk first thing in the morning. I might go for a walk later on as well. I dance, I do flamenco dance, I do that twice a week. Quite often I'll go on YouTube and do some short walking exercise routines or other exercise routines that I can just intersperse through my day. But there are also what might be called internal exercises, things like yoga, qigong, tai chi. And these do work on the musculoskeletal systems of the body, but they are said to have other functions, in that they are said to strengthen the systems of the body and positively affect the organs as well. So with these, you're using physical postures, breathing, focused intentions, working with the energy of the body. So if you're doing something like Tai Chi or Qigong, you're actually working with the energy flow through the meridians of the body. And yoga is, again, certain positions that stretch the systems of the body, or have stretching impact and positively affect the organs of the body as well. I like to do something called Dragon and Tiger Qigong, which moves stagnant energy in the body, boosts energy levels, and promotes self-healing. So these kinds of exercises, part of your exercise program, can really enhance what else you might do if you go running or swimming or dancing. These can just add another dimension to promoting the health of your body through exercise. And I've put martial arts in there. I don't know too much about these. I've never done any martial arts, but these combine physical activity with self-defense and discipline. And practitioners will say that martial arts help to build their confidence and self-esteem. They can improve balance, strength, stamina, flexibility, and posture. And all of these internal exercises and martial arts are also can be seen as spiritual practices. And in fact, I understand that yoga, for example, was developed to prepare the body for meditation. So that's its spiritual aspect. So I hope that this little presentation has given you some thoughts and ideas, and that you'll look at your own health practices and think about how you can really make attending to your health on a daily basis something of importance.